My friends, the great experiment.
Discovery. Hidden. Trick.
Would you look at that?
The greatest trick.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
The greatest trick.
Welcome to Greatest Trek. It's a new Star Trek podcast from the makers of The Greatest Generation. I'm Ben Harrison.
I'm Adam Pranica.
How you doing today, buddy? You had a little surprise show up by a roofer or something?
Always a delight when a utility does a drop-by.
Yeah.
I like that. I don't like drop-bys for social reasons, but I do love it when a utility gives me a window of time. And this one named the early time. They were like, hey, 1 to 3, I know that's when you love to record. Leave that time open. We're going to need you to help us. I was like, all right, whatever.
That was the amazing thing to me, was they literally nailed our record window to a T.
Yeah. They showed up at 1:15.
Wow.
It was awesome. And they're already gone. I was like, look, I'm going to be in the studio doing some work. And hopefully what I mean by that is recording a show. If you could just let me know when you leave, and if everything went the way you want, that'd be appreciated. So I'm in here doing pre-production.
Is that code for jacking off?
Always.
You want to record in your refractory period. That's the Adam Pranica way, right?
And I'm like, well, I don't hear the conversation anymore. The loud conversation that trades tend to have with each other that usually involve a big battery-operated boombox that you can hear 3 blocks away.
Oh, man, I love that boombox that takes a DeWalt battery.
You know what? Maximum respect to all trades of all kinds and the hard work, the appreciated work that they do. However, I think that the trades should take up resort pool rules, which is you don't bring your own music and play it at a volume where the other pool goers can hear it. I'm talking about using... I mean, this old house talks about it all the time. Use the PPE, use the ear protection, and inside the ear protection, play your tunes.
This is giving me a great business idea. You know the...
AirPods by Milwaukee. Is that your idea?
No. Here's my pitch. You know those silent raves, the dance parties where everybody gets a pair of headphones and so everybody's listening to the same thing but on headphones together?
My love to dorks of the universe, but that is the fucking dorkiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Don't squash the pitch before it's out of the bar doors here.
If I'm a shark, no.
We take this technology and adapt it to tradespeople, and we'll DJ your work site, your job site, so everybody gets hearing protection plus music, and you can make requests. It's DJ Adam on the 1s and 2s. You know?
You know what? I love the idea. If you'll let me note it.
Okay. This is a blue sky envisioneering situation.
There's an economy that is built upon feeding the trades of Los Angeles via a food truck. What I'm going to propose, Sharks, for an investment of 100% that gets zero equity in the business, a food truck that also has a DJ station that plays into the Bluetooth headsets of the work people. What do you think?
I love this. So we've got tortas and sody pops and bags of chips for sale down below. But
you were so close to naming it, Ben. Tortas and turntables. This is the name. You go back and get it. There it is.
No, you got it.
Yeah. And just like that, a third Uxbridge Shimoda business was born right here in this very Marin.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing stuff.
We did it.
We did it, Joe.
Copyright us. Nobody steal this business idea. This is ours.
We did it. Look for the torches and turntable merch already. That's what you got to do.
That's the amazing thing, is that's already in podshop.biz as we speak.
Incredible.
It's just clip art of a food truck with me and Adam DJing on top of it, but that's all it needs to be.
Yeah. Sometimes all it needs to be is all an episode needs to be. Wouldn't you say, Ben? Doesn't need to be any more than season 5, episode 8 of Star Trek Discovery, does it?
Yeah, let's not get lost in this, Marin. Let's instead go into the labyrinth.
You know the greatest danger facing us is an irrational fear of the unknown.
Let's fly.
The uncertainty.
This is a cold open that takes place at a Breen funeral, and the pounding is kind of a lot.
Yeah. Maybe the Breen invented this. Maybe they're all listening to the same tune on their inside their helmets to keep the rhythm going with their spears.
So much is made in Breen culture about the moments when you see a Breen face and you do not. I was shocked that this was not an open mask funeral on this Breen ship. Weren't you?
Something was bugging me about that with Lieutenant Arisar, who has some lines. Like, it doesn't sound like it's Locke talking inside of Lieutenant Arisar's helmet, but like something seems to be weird about the fact that they're like, what? I understand being a motorcycle bad guy. Like, you got to have your throngs of faceless villains for the heroes to mow down, right? But like, do the Breen keep those helmets on all the time? Like, is that PPE for them? Is there a pandemic going on Breen ships?
I wear a mouth guard every night for my jaw clenching.
Yeah, you're trying not to brux.
When I take it out in the morning, nothing is as stinky as this.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the worst.
Oh.
And what I'm trying to say is, imagine wearing an entire helmet that smells like retainer or mouth guard. That's what we're dealing with, right?
Yeah, that's...
It's also Ripley's favorite thing. Like, if I put it down for even a second on the nightstand, that thing is going into a dog mouth, and that is no good.
I've been trying to imagine what the Breen might be like, given Locke's insistent that they're nothing like humans. And maybe that is what it is. It's like they can tolerate the inside of the mask smell forever.
This is one of those episodes where I recognized in a ton of scenes how much a Breen must do act mask, right?
Yeah.
With a little tilt of the head, or maybe a different type of tilt of the head, or maybe like a light shrug, a very light shrug even.
They have tremendous control over those helmets because also like that like opening shot where the camera pulls out from the eye mask, that guy's helmet is like dead steady as he's banging his spear against the ground. And then the camera keeps pulling out and there's like thousands of these guys holding their masks perfectly steady. So they must have like training, you know?
I would have really loved if the Breen could control the width and the height of that line of light, though. Like when you're sad, it kind of tilts up like this, like, like cartoon eyebrows. And when you're angry, it tilts like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the Primarch is always like,
well, I mean, that's what the Primarch's shoulder roll is doing. It's always telling you that he's angry.
Cranky Primarch.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cranky Primarch gives us a little bit of a villain monologue about how even though the Scion has passed, this only further enhances the Primarch's claim on the throne of the Breen Empire. And it does feel like, you know, probably something that he has to say to the throng of minions to shore up their devotion to him, you know, given the fact that it sounded like Locke was kind of the one thing that he had going for him.
I mean, the religious devotion aspect to this is a really apt description, Ben, because like there's nothing more attractive to a large group of followers with literally their eyes covered up than the idea of a prophecy coming true and controlling them, right?
Yeah, yeah. We get to meet Lieutenant Arisar, who is kind of looking after Moll in all these scenes on the Breen ship over the course of the episode.
I'm so glad you got this guy's name because all I could hear was a bunch of static. Arisar, you said?
Erisar, yeah, and Erisar has kind of like an English accent, and so I was like, wait, did I like miss something where we lost track of Book at the end of the last episode, and Book is like snuck aboard the Breen ship, and like, how would they know? They're all in helmets, you know?
I love that idea. Hey, let's make a bet. Is someone going to wear a Breen outfit that isn't a Breen before the end of the series?
Ooh,
As a disguise?
I like that pitch.
Bets. I want to see Book positively squeezed into one of those Breen outfits.
Yeah. Could you survive inside a Breen outfit, or is it going to turn you into jelly also?
I think it would turn you cold. Isn't that what it does? It's a refrigeration suit?
I don't know. Unclear. Anyways, Moll kind of pitches them on, you got to get this progenitor tech and it'll bring Locke back, and then you don't have to like say all this bullshit to your minions here. You could just have the Scion, and then you got your claim to the throne back, you know? And that's pretty persuasive to the Primarch.
Yeah, I mean, do you trust him? At this point, he seems like a pretty hair trigger on just so much here. Grief does not seem to be one of the emotions the Primarch feels at this very enormous funeral.
No.
His mind is on the power.
We will defeat all who stand against us!
Yeah, the Primarch's trying to make sure that the Primarch gets what the Primarch needs. What the Primarch needs is the throne. So we cut over to the disco, which is right at the edge of the Badlands, which maybe I'll get my Star Trek card revoked for this, but I can't remember ever seeing the edge of the Badlands. I feel like we only ever showed up right in the middle of the Badlands when we went there in, Deep Space Nine and whatever.
Those storms really did look familiar to me, though. I think they did them right. They did them justice.
Yeah. So there's a little beacon hanging out on the frontier here.
Would you consider this a communications buoy?
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's fair to say.
Okay.
It's definitely not a warning buoy.
No.
But they have a communications beacon out here.
It gives them a holo of Hyrel, who is a member of the Sworn Order who look after the Eternal Archive. And she is just a classic, like, highly trained customer service professional. She's got a lot that she's supposed to get through, but she can pivot, if you don't have time for the spiel,
She's got that extremely cheery, keep all your hands and feet inside the ride, otherwise you'll get decapitated on the Matterhorn kind of vibe to her.
Right.
Very exciting. We love visitors.
It's really great. She's got theme park energy, right?
She does have theme park energy and a great big dress. Like, it's almost like academic robes more than a dress.
Mm-hmm.
So she gives them the coordinates that they need to get into the part of the Badlands where the archive is. And when Desigo entered, I was not ready for what a bumpy ride this was going to be. It feels like the Badlands have gotten shittier in the last 800 years or so.
Yeah, I wanted to know more about the Badlands. Like, are they ever expanding? Are they contracting? Are those storms getting worse?
Yeah.
Unclear at this point.
It's a familiar place, but we haven't been here in so long. I want an update on what's going on here.
Have you ever stressfully tried to get to a destination while a passenger was just like on your ass about the directions and so forth? And that only serves to increase the anxiety of the moment and the thing you're trying to do safely. Like, that's the energy of all of the bangers hitting disco while Hyrel continues to give instructions on how to navigate through the Badlands.
Yeah. I was also, not to go back to before we entered the Badlands, just wondering, like, I wonder what Deep Space Nine is up to. Is it still there? Like, it was like near the Badlands, right?
I think, given how much time has passed and in what terrible shape Deep Space Nine was in already, like,
yeah.
I don't think anyone agreed that it was in tip-top shape at the time of the series, right?
No, yeah.
Like, it was filled with voles, as I imagine. Like if we were to roll up on Deep Space Nine, I think the voles would be running the asylum at this point.
They could have evolved like sentient voles by this point and been like, actually, this is our native habitat and you guys all have to leave. You're colonizers.
The voles have the upper hand now. They've been living on Dr. Bashir's piss bank for hundreds of years.
That should be a disco episode. Like, oh, the piss bank is running out after all this time, and like our beautiful society that we created on a foundation of piss is at risk of crumbling.
How excited would you have been if Disco blurps onto the edge of the Badlands, hangs a right, theme to Deep Space Nine starts playing.
Yeah.
Hail Deep Space Nine. On screen is a humanoid vole. It's a Deep Space Nine episode from here.
Yes! Yeah! Stand up and cheer moment.
We just get an entirely brand new Deep Space Nine episode, and then this episode ends, and we have to pick it up on Discovery Season 5, Episode 9 for what happens next.
Oh, man. That's that progenitor genetic technology, right? Like, you didn't think the voles had it in them, but then they evolve into humanoids, too.
If you give any rodent hundreds of years to evolve, they're eventually going to get there, right?
They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
The greatest trick
Is yet to come.
Hyrel does have crazy driving directions for them, including cut the engines and coast at one point, and that is never what the pilot likes to hear.
That's how you crash into bridges.
Yeah. I kind of refuse to learn their names, but the two ladies who have usurped for Detmer and Owo did do a lot of the same kinds of reacts in this episode that Detmer and Owo made famous. One of which was a lot of looking back and forth at each other when seemingly crazy flight instructions came in from Hyrel on the way through the Badlands.
Just a terrific challenge for a couple of actors new to the show to try to step in those shoes of a react that powerful.
Yeah.
A react that represented maybe the most significant character development for each of them.
Yeah, if not the most significant character development for the whole show.
Yeah. Would you believe that in the, I'm going to presume it's the center, but I bet you it's not. Somewhere in the eye of this storm is a bluish area, and in this blue area is the archive ship, and it's looking like a real sky city, you know?
Yeah. It's very beautiful. I thought that they did a nice job on this effect, and it's kind of like domes and stuff around the midsection, but then sort of like high-rise towers come off of it. We learn a couple of things. There's no cloaking devices that will work in this part of the storm due to plasma or something. And also, Hyrel is like, hey, so when you send people over to check out the books that you would like to check out, send that Quajon that we detected aboard your ship, because we've got some Quajon crap in the archive, and we'd love him to take a look at it.
Would it be possible to squeeze book into the A story here? I personally think that would be great, is what Hyrel thinks.
Yeah. It really does feel like they're just like, let's not do the book wants an excuse to be in the episode thing that we did last time. Let's just give him an excuse right at the top.
Let's be clear. At any point, this ship and this show could drop book off at Federation HQ. In an instant, it would take them 30 seconds to do this. Book is clearly a person Michael Burnham does not want to be around right now, and it is within her power to leave him behind. He is not left behind.
He's not left behind. He is brought in, and the Breen are very likely on their way, so there's kind of a, hey, we should like figure out a way to like hide the ship while we're doing our research over at the archive. But meantime, Book meets up with Michael in her ready room, and he's like, hey, so sorry for blowing my stack when you gave Moll to the Breen. That wasn't great. And Michael tells him about this thing over at the library, and off they head.
And onto the archive ship.
Yeah.
the establishing shots here make it look like it's straight out of a Harry Potter film, right? Books on books on books on book. And Book's like, there sure are a lot of books here. And he kind of like stops and looks around.
Got room for one more, mate? I looked this library up. This is called the Thomas Fisher Rare Book Library at the University of Toronto. Really gorgeous space that they shot in, and they made it look like it is, infinitely tall and infinitely big.
That's amazing. I didn't know this was a real place. I thought this was Infinity Wall. Like, I thought this was a comp.
I punched in beautiful library Toronto, and it was like the second result. Just a gorgeous space, and a space I was very happy to spend most of the episode in.
Well, that's good, because you're not leaving for another 40 minutes.
Yeah. Hyrel is not stressed that the Breen are coming and that the Breen are angry. She's like, oh yeah, like we've been around a long time. We're familiar with the concept of, members of the library not always agreeing.
We're here to serve everyone, as long as everyone follows the rules.
So she kind of leads them to the room where Michael will be looking at the clue book, and then Book gets a separate viewing room for his artifact that they want to show him.
There's a real energy of I'm sure it's fine that they both have as they are both led into these rooms and then separated. Because all the while, Hyrel is like, yeah, we've got it. We're fine with this conflict. We have Miriam punishments at the ready for anyone who steps out of line. And it's funny, like the take that Burnham and Book have in this scene are like, is she for real? About the trapdoors and stuff? Guess we'll find out.
Yeah. So Burnham gets this book, Labyrinths of the Mind, that was written by the Betazoid scientist. God, I think that this episode is the one that they would have set on Betazed if they were going to set one on Betazed, right?
Yeah, we're never going to Betazed.
I'm never going to Betazed.
Were you surprised that the cover of the book was a volcano exploding?
If you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask? Pig fuck!
That was a very unexpected reference.
Yeah, it's a new science of...
It's like a science and a religion in one.
Yeah.
There's a couple of like metal cylinders next to it that Michael's meant to grab.
It's like enough of a religion that you can't get taxed, but not so much that, anybody should be scared of joining if they already have a religious affiliation.
Speaking of things made of metal, Michael flips through this book and finds what looks like another metal card catalog card from before. This is a different card, though.
It's bigger.
When she sticks a finger in the middle, it's clear that this is something that uses a fingerprint ID to activate.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how she knew it was a button. Like she kind of, like there was like definitely a finger-sized part of the design that she went for to push, but it was like, oh, I guess that's a button.
That's such a great question by you. Like when you are confronted by a new thing, how often is your reaction to... like with just your index finger to just boop it.
Boop.
That's what she does.
Yeah. We cut over to Book's viewing room where Hyrel has also struck on how fun it is that his name is Book.
Mm-hmm.
How fun to have a book visit me in the library for a change.
Hyrel is great.
She's tremendous. Really liked her. The Quasian artifact in question is a carved wooden container with something very sad inside.
These salad tongs look almost impossible to use inside this salad bowl.
Yeah,
don't you
like
think?
Miniaturized.
Yeah, you're not going to get much of the salad out with those things.
Or a drink of water, for that matter.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, they're part of a world route from Quasian. He can keep it. He's allowed.
How cool is Hyrel in this scene? She's like, yeah, God, take it out of here. Just bring it back before you die.
Yeah. Just let us know whatever happens to it. We just, we want whatever's best for you.
I get the sense there are no library police working the archive.
Yeah. Did Hyrel just seize the authority to do what she's doing here? Can she just be like, yeah, you can take whatever you want?
We meet no other library employees, do we?
We sure don't.
Huh. Is she working here alone is an unanswered question. Interesting.
I mean, we see other library employees in a couple of the establishing shots, or people wearing similar robes.
I thought we saw people using the library and its many computer workstations to do God knows what. Most of Hyrael's job is just telling different alien species to turn off the internet-connected computer and get out!
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do that here!
They did pan through, and there's like a couple of high school students working on a research paper, one or two hobos cranking it,
Yeah. Labyrinths of the erotic mind, am I right?
But when they get back to Michael's viewing room, she has conked out on the floor, and we wake up with her in a telepathic fugue state that is set in this same library. And now in one of these robes is Book.
I wish they gave Book the hair, too.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Give him those silvery locks.
Yeah. I took to calling this character Library Book in my notes because it is explained that this is a program that is running in her brain, and the library is the most important place in the universe, according to Michael Burnham's psyche, and that's why this is set here. And the most important person to be working through this problem has been given the image of her helper. So that's Library Book.
Libraries are also the most important place in the universe to every elementary school poster hung up in a hallway.
Yeah, it was nice to see Whoopi Goldberg represented in this episode, even if it was just a still on a poster.
Reading is fundamental 800 years in the future.
That is now your chair, Captain.
It's a new ship.
It kind of reminded me of Inner Light, like the way this was working, right? Because we cut back to Culber and he's like, yeah, she's fine, but something is like clearly going on in her head, and a bunch more people have come over from the ship to scan her and work on this situation. Book really wants to like go into the program with her, and he tries pushing the button on the little metal plate she found in the book, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. It only can do one person at a time.
I love how sure he is that all you need to do is press on it with your finger, as if everyone knows that that's how you interact with the brand new item. It's great.
I was much more into Rayner's plan, which is work the problem from the outside. So he's like, get us everything you've got on the scientist that brought this book here. We need to do some research. Meanwhile, back inside the dream or the fugue state, Michael Burnham, she knows that this is a clue and that she needs to solve some kind of puzzle, but what the puzzle is and how to get started have been sort of elusive so far. But she comes up with the idea, looking at the card catalog, like maybe I narrow this down by picking a subject matter to start my search in, and she picks history.
I really love what they do to Michael's character and attitude from jump. As soon as this whole mystery begins, she starts out so confident and so annoyed at anyone getting in her way and slowing her down to figuring this thing out.
I don't have time for games.
And I think it's a great way to stop the consistency of Michael always being right, of Michael always saving the day immediately and basically whenever she wants to. Like, I think it's useful as a character technology to shut her down. And not only shut her down, but shut her down when she thinks she can't be shut down.
You've got a captain of a starship that thinks she's always right and always saving the day? She's gotta be shut down!
She's not wearing a hairnet!
You're in a fugue state. That hair could get everywhere.
So we also learn in this moment that the stakes are pretty high. Like, if she doesn't succeed in solving the clue, like, the program runs its course, but also her brain runs its course. So library book is like, so if that's not agreeable to you, I can just turn this off now and let you go. You don't have to try and solve the clue, but she decides to jump right over that Rubicon.
What do you think of the choice David Ayala makes or is directed into with this library book character in personality? Like, this library book seems just as cool as Cleveland Book Booker.
Yeah.
In a way that you would think would begin to attract Michael Burnham in some way to him. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, he's not very distinct
Right.
from his real universe character, and I wonder why that choice was made. If you're not going to tease Michael with an aspect of attraction.
Because Janal was a distinct character from Culber.
That's what I'm getting at, yeah. But maybe that it's derivative to do that again?
Yeah. What if they'd made him just kind of like fresh back from the gym, no shirt book? That would have made this a much more tricky challenge to negotiate, I think.
Yeah, in the library gym, you're just lifting enormous and old books, right?
Oh, yeah, and an all-tome workout.
Your hands have to be so strong to grip the books so they don't fly out.
You're trying to tear them in half, and the librarians are like, no, come on, no! What are you doing, library book?
Not the Bible. You're not going to go to hell for this.
Out in reality, Hyrel shows up with all of the files that they requested in something that looked very much like a challenge coin. It was just like the data of stuff that this lady checked out and information she looked at. She also has some bad news. The Breen are on the edge of the Badlands and wanting to talk to them.
How much were you sure that when this moment passed, Raynor would take command? Like, the captain is down. How bloodthirsty is Raynor going to get if given the opportunity? I was excited by this.
Yeah. I mean, it does feel like he is very conscious of how outmatched Disco is by the Dreadnought.
Yeah.
But yeah, we cut over and Hyrel shows up and tries to do her pleasant speech for the Primarch. And he really just like curb stomps her speech immediately and is like, I will destroy your archive unless you give me the clear.
This scene only makes me like Hyrel even more. She is great. She's a great representative for the organization. She's worked with all kinds of people.
Yeah.
And she is more than willing to ban the Primarch from the library for his behavior here.
And all Breen. Like, all Breen everywhere get their library card revoked, like, spontaneously in this moment.
Yeah.
May you gain knowledge elsewhere.
Yeah, so the Primarch uses the source of Hyrel's signal as kind of a target. Like, can we just drive our ship through the Badlands toward where that signal came from? That sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So that's what they decide to do.
As they proceed with that, the Primarch learns from Moll about how all of the other clues are already aboard Disco, and this really pisses him off. And he, like, you know, does the classic villain grab by the neck and hold up and yell at.
Is there anything else?
No more half-truth from Moll. You better tell me the whole thing. I mean, like, I understand why the Primarch is mad in this moment. I'm not defending it, but I understand why he's frustrated. But Moll could have just been like, hey, man, like, that's like the only leverage I have is the information I know. Like, can you really be that mad at me for holding back some of it until I get out of here safely?
It seems like the vanity of compatible bad guys is in play here. Like, you would have done the same, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is something Moll could have said in this scene that I think the Primarch would have understood.
There should be a game recognized game moment.
Yeah.
But this is another moment where, like, Lieutenant Erisar seems to be, like, kind of grossed out by the way the Primarch is acting. It's just like a wordless interaction between Erisar and Moll, but...
Are you saying all you needed was a little bit of this? to understand his true feelings. And if you're watching on the stream, you will have noticed that I moved my head exactly 2 degrees to the right and 1 degree down.
Yeah. Everybody knows. Everybody's watching.
Yeah.
You don't need to explain that like it's just an audio medium.
Wonder what that's all about. I wonder if there's something spicy between these two. I mean, it's clear Moll is an attractive person to a Breen specifically, but maybe even generally that's the case.
Yeah, I wonder. Maybe she had a previous Breen boyfriend before she got together with Locke.
Yeah. I like that backstory. She's got a type.
When they use the progenitor tech to revive him and he finds out, he's going to be so pissed. You should have left me dead.
Back in the mind labyrinth, Burnham has been flipping through a bunch of books and coming up with nothing. And it is so frustrating to her because she is used to accomplishing her mission easily and fast.
Yeah. I do love that you can just mess up a library if it's just in your imagination. Just like pull the books out, look through them, leave them on the floor. Who gives a shit?
This scene also, I think, unfortunately represents one of the weak parts of how Discovery has unrolled the mystery of this season. Because to me, it seems obvious that because it was said in dialogue that this location, the library, is important to her.
Right.
And I thought, without knowing any more information, it's important because it's the mission. But in this scene, that realization is seen as an epiphany. Oh my God, missions are important to me.
Whoa, oh my God, oh my God.
And that must be why I'm in the library right now. Like the music swells and it's like a holy shit moment.
Yeah.
You may be onto something.
Good. Great.
This scene drove me insane.
I felt the same way. Obviously the place matters the most.
Yeah.
That has the next step in her mission. We've known Michael Burnham for 5 seasons now.
In an earlier scene, like in the viewing room, she was given a pitcher of water that she drank half of, and the most important place in the world becomes a bathroom in about 20 minutes. Just an unescapable bathroom.
Yeah, yeah. She gets a bucket of sand from Library Book, which will be helpful in finding her way out of the maze. And we get that God shot, camera pulls back, and it is revealed that she's in the middle of a labyrinth. Is a labyrinth the one where you're trying to find your way to the middle?
Oh, I just always thought it was your way out.
Yeah.
Of it.
She is really not being judicious with the way she pours the sand out of this bucket. I was like, no, you're going to run out of sand so fast if you pour that much out.
I thought the same thing. This felt like a religious artifact, right?
Yeah.
The way the fishes turn into 10,000 fishes or whatnot. This is just a bottomless sand pail.
Oh, maybe the sand pail replenishes because it's imaginary.
Right. Yeah.
There's that famous art piece in Manhattan where a graffiti writer poked a hole in the bottom of a bucket of paint and wrote his name, over the course of miles and miles of Manhattan streets. And you can still see you'll be walking on a sidewalk and there'll be splattery dribble of paint running up the middle of the sidewalk. A lot of it's gone now, but I was thinking bucket of paint with a little hole poked in the bottom might have been better, but maybe they would have gotten kicked out of their location if they tried to pour paint on the floor of this beautiful library.
As someone who has had any production experience at all, how did it make your body feel to see sand being poured out on a live set?
Having been the PA that would have been stuck with trying to clean that up, it made my body feel bad.
It is a good thing that Sonequa Martin-Green is such a talented actor in all ways, including the physical way, because she's got to be so careful with that bucket.
Oh, yeah. Did you see at the end of the credits promotional consideration provided by Dyson?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We need to score a lot of Latin fast.
Licensed businessman. And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek. The greatest Trek.
back in the reading room, it's library lockdown, Ben.
Yeah.
Shields are up, and that means everyone in the library has to stay in the library, including you, man, and whatever you're doing at the computer station. Knock it off.
Yeah. Come on, man. This is a family library over here.
And Discovery at the same time is ordered to hide ahead of this Breen ship's arrival. And it's Reese in the big chair, and he's there giving orders. And his orders are to hide somewhere and keep it natural.
Yeah.
That last part's important because by doing anything technological, he presumes that the Breen ship are going to pick that up and then pick them up.
It was nice for Reese to get a real moment here. Not much of one, but he got more of a moment than he has in a little while.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Good job by him.
So he kind of makes himself scarce. Dreadnought shows up. We cut back inside the fugue, and Burnham is not just using sand bucket. She can also use tricorder inside this maze. And she finds a door and goes through it and figures out that she has not solved the maze. And the whole time, passages that she walks through, the lights are dimming out, but she's not noticing it. And when she gets in there, she sits down with library book, and she's like, "This is all just a waste of time." And I'm noticing the lights flickering. This feels bad. Feels like I'm kind of running out of time here, and I haven't really figured out what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, the mood's really changed between them, and her confidence is really shaken.
You start talking about how this group of scientists that set up all of these riddles could possibly vet someone far in the future in solving these puzzles for having the kind of responsibility that they would want someone to have when they get their hands on this all-powerful technology. She's starting to get stressed out because she hasn't solved that. We cut to Library Actual, and Culber is seeing that she's starting to get stressed out in his readouts.
There's very little Culber can do as a medical professional in this entire episode.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Inner Light, right? If they pulled the plug, it could kill her. So
yeah. Might as well let her die naturally. Let's not intervene.
He is just there to read the progress bar, basically.
Yeah.
So a banger drops on the library, and it's the Dreadnought using a tunneling technology to get through the library's shield so that they can get soldiers in there.
Love this effect.
Yeah, it looked great.
Looked really good to me.
Yeah.
Back in Michael Burnham's mind, it's gotten so dark in the stacks. And Burnham, I think quite naturally as a character on the show, is wondering if the test is really about doing some sort of psychoanalysis on herself.
Mm-hmm.
And library book doesn't really humor her with an answer. And Michael is so frustrated by this that she just leaves.
Screw you. I'll find my own way out.
That usually works on this show. I just start talking about my feelings, and I'm able to solve whatever the problem is. This sucks.
I hang a tear or two, and that kind of works its way through the problem.
Yeah.
But this nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a Vincent Hanna Heat speech.
I told you when we hooked up, baby.
Book's got to share her with every bad thing that happens in the universe, and she's afraid if she doesn't complete the mission, she won't have any identity, and that does not solve the problem. So she bounces, and we cut down to engineering where the nerd team is working on stopping the shield tunnel that the Breen are working on.
If you are assigning the solution to the problem to the engineers on your ship, maybe most qualified to solve it, is that the Breen Beam Dream Team?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I think it is. And the kernel of an idea that they have to solve that problem would be the Breen Beam Dream Team Bean. No?
Yeah! All right! Woo!
Oh my God! Woo!
It's a Stamets and Adira and Jet Reno problem to solve here.
Yeah. And it's, shoot some positron beams at that and it'll help. And this is a buy time, not solve the problem kind of solution.
Right.
So they alert Book and Rayner that that's what's going to happen while Book and Rayner prepare for the invasion squad of Breens.
We get a bunch of close-up shots of Rayner, like, sticking a knife in his boot and, like, tying a red bandana around his head. Like,
throwing bandoliers over his shoulders.
He is absolutely preparing for war here in a way that feels so intense.
Yeah.
And Book recognizes it in all right, like, I think he's ready to ride for whatever Rayner's into also.
It's good.
Yeah.
I really liked the scene on the Breen Bridge where it's sort of like the scene in Aliens where like they're seeing the soldiers get taken out in the atmosphere processor one by one, like the POV cameras are going hazy and we just see Rayner and Book like snapping guys' heads from their own perspectives.
I love how first-person shooter that footage looks.
Yeah.
Right on down to the, like, hand holding a weapon in front of the screen-ness of it. It's so familiar.
It was really good. And I feel like it would look really silly except for it's like, the size of a postage stamp on your TV screen because you're seeing it on the screen that all the Breen are watching it on,
It's weird how this Breen goes down a couple of hallways, takes a right, and there's, like, a devil figure, and there's, like, a 9 Inch Nails logo floating there. He's got to go get those.
There's more of that down here, you gelatinous assholes.
Moll kind of wants Coach to put her in. She's like, send me over there. I can, hand-to-hand combat, there's nobody better than me.
This is so fucking stupid.
Yeah, you don't think the Primarch sent, like, guys that know how to throw themselves around the library to get the crucial clue?
You want to know what true villain confidence is? Is Moll looking around at a ship full of 10 million Breens and going like, fuck those guys. I'm who you need to send over there.
Breen King Kong ain't got shit on me.
Incredible. Yeah. Permission denied is how this goes.
It's not going to happen.
And then when Primarch's just out of earshot, she starts talking to the guy who I think has been flirting with her through the mask. She's like, you're not into this, are you? You don't like what's happening. I can see you're doing act mask at an extremely high level with me.
Yeah. Are you involved? Are you spoken for?
It feels like there's something between us.
Yeah. I guess you could say as of the end of last episode, I'm available.
I mean, it's going to be weird for me the first time, having been so freshly widowed. Think I can get over that?
Yeah. I've already talked to like a tattoo removal place about my scarification, seeing if I can get that taken care of, Or maybe we just leave it and you get one, I don't know.
You're not nervous, are you? It still looks kind of gooey. Get that thing going.
Michael is now in a very dark room with Library Book, and time is almost up. They start talking about death and whether or not she fears death. She does not. She's no Saru.
Mm-mm.
What she's truly afraid of is inadequacy.
Boy, you and I know that feeling. And this is when I finally started to understand Star Trek Discovery and realize that it also understood me.
Yeah, this was a character I could have been seeing myself in the whole time. I thought this was a really great speech, like her peeling back the layers and talking about the fears that truly motivate her and hating that she is motivated by fear a lot of the time.
And specifically the fear of failure.
Right.
And that's why she won't make it as a stand-up comedian.
Yeah. Like failure is always an option if you're a stand-up comedian.
Or as a romantic partner for Book. Like this is a line that she draws between that fear and her broken relationship.
Right. And I did have some issues with that, like the idea that somehow what happened between her and Book was her fault, or that she was feeling like it was like in part or in whole her fault, felt crazy to me because he like did war crimes, and I mean, like, also in many ways forgivable given his entire planet had been destroyed, and that would make anybody do irrational shit. But like,
yeah, I mean, that is on the con side in that column, but on the pro side, seen him without a shirt?
The guy is a hunk, you know? He doesn't have a fear of inadequacy, let's just say.
No. Yeah. Burnham in this scene seems to understand and accept that this is going to be the end of things. And you know, just between you and me, like right before I die, it'd be really cool if, what was the test all about? Like,
yeah.
What was it actually? And big surprise, that was the test.
Yeah.
Admitting your fear.
Yeah. She passed by knowing herself and being honest with herself about even the stuff that's really hard to be honest with yourself about.
Didn't this remind you a lot of our interview for a producer? This is how Wynde got through. This is why Wynde is a producer on this show.
Yeah. I don't think we could pass that test. I don't think either of us could, but she could.
We don't have to. We're the bosses. And isn't that how it goes?
I don't think the Primarch could pass that fucking test.
No.
That's just a straight shooter with upper management written all over him.
I love this moment. This purity of moments on Star Trek Discovery, where the solution to the problem, the answer to the test, is just admitting your fear, admitting your feelings.
Disco gonna disco.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredible.
He's like, yeah, like the last piece is inside a crystal.
Crystals!
That's on display in this other room. Here's how to find it.
I love how fast this thing gets smashed.
Yeah. Well, and crucially, he's also like, hey, like there's one other super important thing you're going to need to know before you go. And then it cuts to her eyes opening up. And I was like, no, did she leave before she found out the super important final thing?
There's actually another clue you need to put your hands on. Zip.
She's like, why is there a fly in the like robe that you're wearing? Like I've seen a fly in pants, but never in a robe.
This is an intense moment because the speed of things really picks up here. Between the danger Discovery is in, the bangers landing on the archive ship, the need to go get and break this crystal, things happen very quickly from here.
Yeah, so they get back aboard. Book, we should mention, took some incoming fire from one of the Breens when he and Rayner were fighting him off, but he's going to be all right.
I love how Culber is like, I don't have the stuff to be able to fix a conventional wound. What exactly did you beam over there with, Culber? You're supposed to be a medical professional.
I can't treat this here. We need to get you to 6th Day.
You can't treat a wound? No, he's there only to treat emotional wounds.
What does somebody do if they get injured on the archive? Like, do they not have medical facilities over here? It's huge. It looks like it's like 10 times the size of Discovery. Do they not have a 6-bay?
It's paper cut injuries only. That's what they're prepared to treat.
They only have medium and smaller Band-Aids available.
Yeah, and not the good kind that seal out the water. These aren't waterproof bandages.
No. These are the cloth kind that
aren't
really the right tone for anybody's skin color.
Yeah. Back on Disco, Burnham starts giving the orders again. Her orders are to draw out the Breen ship. They need to run interference between the Breen ship and the archive ship. And the Primarch hails Discovery to say that unless she gives those clues that she just got to him, he's going to destroy the archive.
Yeah. He loves threatening the total destruction of this priceless archive of all of the knowledge in the galaxy that isn't the sphere that became Zora. And he's going to destroy the archive unless they give him the clues.
That is a great fucking question, Ben. Does Zora possess more knowledge than the archive? It would appear not, because the questions they asked Zora earlier, Zorro's like, I don't know, you gotta have to go to this library.
What do I look like? A 10,000-year archive of information and data?
Yeah, like according to this very show several seasons ago, Zorro was it.
It would have been cool if the archive lady had been like a little bit like, you
got a Zorro over here? Oh, that's cute.
I bet that's got a lot of information. That's nice. That must be really nice for you guys. Like
Zorro gets super catty with the archivist. Zora starts shooting torpedoes at the archive.
Yeah. Whoa, Zora. We're trying to prevent destruction.
Carry on, Zora.
Michael Burnham wants a Tergoon. That is a Breen oath for the Primarch to make, to promise not to hurt the archive in exchange for the can koozie that is now fully assembled, that Tilly has brought to the bridge.
Yeah.
And on the Breen ship, there is some discussion about whether or not to trust Michael Burnham with a deal like this. In the end, the Primarch agrees to the Tergoon, and on discovery, the can koozie is assembled in its entirety. And what happens here is that it starts projecting the coordinates to the progenitor technology up into the air. And with this knowledge, Michael orders the ship ready to jump and also readies it to dump a bunch of plasma and other things out.
This is another technology moment like the metal thing she found inside the book in the library where everybody's interacting with it like they just know how to use this thing. Like the holograms kind of just work the same way that they do on their tricorder badges.
Yeah.
I was like, why would it? How would it? Like, it came from 800 years ago. How do they just know how to do this thing?
One of my favorite bits of dialogue happens when the can koozie's beamed over to the Breen ship and the Primarch's like, is this authentic? And Moll's like, yeah, it looks that way. Like, standing across a room, she looks at this thing and is like, oh yeah, that's the thing.
That's the one. Can't get one past her.
So the Primarch orders Discovery destroyed, and Moll can't hold back at this point. She takes great umbrage with the idea because it would start a war between the Breen and the Federation. And over on Disco, we learn a little bit more about what they're preparing to do. They want to jump and vent and explode things at the same time.
It's a real dump and jump, isn't it?
It is. It absolutely is. The sort of thing I like to do before a road trip.
Yeah, they let the Breen get the sense that they've destroyed Disco, and they jump. And I loved how torn up the ship looked when they arrived where they went,
great.
Which is 22 light years off target, and both the spore drive and the conventional warp drive are cooked after the amount of damage that they took from that brief little encounter with the Breen. And we learn they have about 6 hours to get to where they're going before the Breen will be there as well. We do learn that Burnham did get one last piece of information from library book before her fugue state ended. So that little piece of suspense has been spent already.
But we have a timeline here. The Breen ship's 6 hours away from the progenitor coordinates, and they need to have themselves fixed up and ready to go in 5.
We cut back to inside the Badlands where Moll is trying to speak up for this Tergoon because the Primarch is happy to just destroy the archive anyways because I guess fuck them. Like, it seems like the Primarch is just kind of trying to salt the earth in his wake basically.
Yeah.
And Moll speaks up and is like, you can ascend to the Emperor, but like you'll have done it without honor. And it seems like a couple of the other goons are starting to agree with Moll. Primarch has to waste one of them for raising his voice. He steps to Moll to try and kill her. And oops, she grabbed his gun and wasted him. RSV Primarch.
It looks like Moll kicks this guy in the balls before double tapping him in the head, right?
Yeah.
This is a ball shot.
Yeah, so we do know that the Breens have balls.
We do.
We don't know how many.
Look at her, Ben. Look at her. She's the Primarch now.
Kind of seems that way. And Lieutenant Aerosar is like on the fence for a second, but then he's like, yeah, we're doing it. And it's all going to be in the name of the Scion, the dearly departed Locke.
Did you like this episode, Ben?
She'll always bring it home.
I liked this episode a lot. I liked the location. I mean, it felt a little bit wedged in there. Like, I kept thinking about Zora relative to Alien Archive the whole time and being like, is this really better Archive than Zora? But the location was so phenomenal, and like I thought all of the little micro puzzles that Burnham encountered along the way were great. And like we joke about the way like problems get solved on Disco by people, peeling back their emotional scabs and bearing all, but it really worked for me in this episode, and I liked it a lot. How about you?
We were always going to get here, right? Moll was always going to ascend to power inside the Breen hierarchy.
Yeah.
And I think whether or not you like the episode has so much to do with whether you could get on that level, like if this is possible.
Right.
I just don't know. I mean, I could say this about every character on the show. There's nothing wrong with the performance and what the actor who plays Moll is bringing this moment. It's just whether or not you can believe that this is possible.
Right.
Like, I couldn't help but... The show doesn't want you to laugh at this moment, but I laughed at this moment when she took the fucking staff and like held it up over her head. It's like... It's like a million TV shows and a million movies where like someone outside of the tribe leads the tribe. And you're supposed to understand that like the tribe is stupid enough to like go along with it. They're going to get something out of this or whatever. And I guess we don't know enough about the Breen to really get this. And if they really are going to ride for her and with her, they kind of seem dumb. Like, this is a defanging of the Borgs all over again. They're not supposed to be this dumb.
They really trust her that they're going to be able to bring Locke back to life, it seems, based on the way they react to this moment.
And that's the other side of this whole thing is like, I wanted to understand better why the Primarch wanted the power other than power for power's sake. Is that really all we're talking about here? A vast culture and all their resources and ships and planets and whatever. Is that all? Is that all that we want to ascend toward and become the power over? Like, that just seems too generalized. Like, I just want one extra thing. Like, I guess it's a powerful person wanting to get even more power, but like, I want to know more about the Breen and why that's important.
I am really hoping one or both of the next two episodes has a lot about what motivates the Breen, because it's been sold to us so heavily that they are like almost unknowably different from quote unquote us. And I want to know what mean. It
is as important to me to get the answer to that question as it is to figure out the progenitor tech.
Yeah. Well, I'm right there with you, buddy.
Yeah.
You want to see if there's anything important to you in the Priority 1 inbox?
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Adam, we have a promotional Priority 1 message here. It goes like this. The Greatest Art. An otherworldly collection of abstract paintings by artist Chuck Gumpert, specially curated for Friends of DeSoto. Myriad collectors and viewers have been transported by Chuck's energetic, luminous, and layered abstract works to dreamy dimensions, spatial anomalies, and uncharted quadrants of the galaxy. A Trekkie since 1976 and an FOD since 2017, Chuck's unique art is routinely inspired by the dazzling visuals, epic scores, and hopeful vision of Trek in all its incarnations. And the call to action here is discover a one-of-a-kind work of art for your empty ready room wall today. Please visit chuckg.art/Trek.
I'm over there right now, Ben, checking it out. This is my favorite kind of art, this abstract art. It's beautiful. It looks like Chuck might be based in the Northwest, or many of their pieces are on display in Oregon and Washington.
Oh, man.
Which might interest FODs in that area of the country.
I love the color.
Yeah.
I mean, all different colors, obviously, but each painting really takes you to a place, even though they aren't specifically representational of places, just in terms of the kind of color that they bring to bear. Really beautiful stuff, Chuck Gumpert.
Yeah, really amazing. Great job, Chuck.
And there's some L cars right there at the top of the page, so you'll know you're in the right place when you get there. Thank you for that Priority 1 message. Again, that's chuckg.art/trek. If you'd like to get a Priority 1 message on the show, head to MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron and set one up today.
Hey, Ben.
What's that, Adam?
Did you discover yourself an Edward Larkin?
Edward Larkin! Yeah, I think I'm going to have to give it to Culber for coming over to check on the medical emergency with no equipment to treat a medical emergency.
Yeah, didn't quite get that. You want the med kit on you, don't you, Doc?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Mine's going to be Commander Rayner for calling the Breen gelatinous assholes, and in so doing, answering a question we had a while ago. Are the Breen gas or are they jelly? It appears as though they are jelly.
Seems that they're goo people.
Yeah, so thanks for that, Commander Rayner.
Yeah, thanks indeed.
I mean, to the extent that that's a slur, you don't love that, but also, more important that we understood something about the Breen during. So thank you for that.
Right. You know, many stereotypes have a kernel of truth in them.
And this kernel is gooey.
Yeah.
That's also a thing that Colonel Sanders probably told a lover in order to seduce them, right?
Well, I make sure that the pressure, temperature, and time are just right.
We just have one last segment here on the show, and that's the Warning Bois segment, where we shout out something nice that somebody went out of their way to say about our show on the internet.
Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning buoys.
An emergency buoy. A warning buoy.
This one is an old review of The Greatest Generation, our other smash hit Star Trek podcast, that got a little update recently. Title, The Entrepreneur Rides Again. I didn't know I'd been waiting 30 years for this, but this is the best way to revisit a show I saw every single episode of as a child and was a little bit embarrassed to admit. My observations from Six Bay to the Drunk Shimoda Memorial Corner are hilarious. And then Joel Delano, who posted this, added an update 8 years later. Still great! For assorted reasons, I had limited access to and didn't watch much of or any DS9 or Voyager. Thanks to Ben and Adam, I've now watched both, and it was a delight. I'd only heard bad things about Star Trek Enterprise, but I'm sure it will be fun with Ben and Adam along for the ride.
Sure hope so.
Thank you so much for leaving that kind review, Joel, and updating it as well. If you're only a listener to Greatest Trek, you might be excited to learn that we are launching into our coverage of Star Trek Enterprise over on The Greatest Generation. So if you haven't cracked that egg, this is a great time to get on board.
And if you have left a review that you regret for any reason over the past couple years,
even a 5-star review that you feel like could use some more context or whatever,
I think updating it sounds like a great idea, and the algorithm must obey. So get on in there and maybe add a star or two if you can, if we've changed your mind throughout the course of listening to our show.
Indeed.
Really makes a difference.
Sure does. Thanks to everybody who listened today, and we're going to leave the episode in Wynde's capable hand from here. Take it away, Wynde.
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica, and it's produced and edited by Wynde Priddy. Next week, Ben and Adam will be back to cover Star Trek Discovery Season 5, Episode 9. It's called Lagrange Point. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the Greatest Trek YouTube channel. Another free way to support the show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review over on Apple Podcasts. But the most direct way to make sure the podcast keeps going is to support monthly as a member. Members get access to new bonus episodes every month, and we really appreciate and rely on the support at MaximumFun.org/join. Nick Ditmore created the show art, and Adam Ragusia composed the theme music that you hear on each episode. Also thanks to Bill Tilley for manning the DMs and Rob Adler for making all those fun videos you'll find over on our social media pages. Make sure you're following @GreatestTrek on your platform of choice and use the hashtag #GreatestTrek when you post about the show online. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Greatest Trek.
Primark gets what Primark wants.
Do you want to take that again?
Yeah, sorry.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows,
supported directly by you.